Merry Christmas Eve, everyone. Again, for some of you who were at the teddy bear pageant earlier. And happy holiday season to you with all its unusualness this year. I'm the Reverend Kevin Tarsa, serving this congregation, the Unitarian Universalist Community of the Mountains in Grass Valley, California. With Gail Johnson Vaughn, Lindsay Dunkel, Chuck Champlin, Jordan Thomas Rose, and musicians in the congregation, I invite you into a Christmas Eve pause as we draw on music, words, images, candlelight, and singing to make space for the reflections moving in each of our hearts on such an evening. This is a Christmas Eve like no other in our lifetimes. A Christmas Eve of happy solitude for some, and deep worry, loss, and sorrow for others in this time of pandemic. It's an evening of warmth and love and family for some, and for others, an evening of fear held momentarily and only tentatively at bay. May our time together speak to your heart, inspire your care, and help us to feel connected to one another in this circle and far beyond, that we might serve the world around us with kindness, compassion, and ever more courageous love. Those of you whom I know, I am picturing you in my mind's eye this evening, holding you in my heart in your homes, with your decisions around whether to travel or not, whether to be with family or not. May this be a safe, healthy, happy holiday for you. It may help you to know that at the end of the service, we'll be passing the candlelight as we do each year, although not quite as we do each year since we're all in different locations. But I'll take the light from our chalice and I'll come and pass it to you through the lens of the camera and invite you to light a candle at home. So if that gives you time to get a candle ready, maybe that's helpful. This evening, I invite you to feel free to have your cameras on if that's the kind of thing that supports you, so you can see other people. You can use your gallery view. And if that's not your thing, you can close down that gallery view and see less. At the end of Silent Night, at the very end of the service, we'll stop sharing the Zoom screen and we'll invite all of us to see each other in the gentle light of our candles. Maybe you'll even want to pass the light through your camera lens to someone else. We begin this evening with the gift of a song from the Rivers Sampson family. Jordan described it as a Christmas card from them to us, and so it is. With thanks to Olivia, Allison, and David, the first Noel to call us into this heart-centered Christmas Eve time together.
Please. Happy holidays, we're the Rivers Sampson family, and today we'll be playing the first Noel. 1, 2, 3. The first Noel, the angels did say, was to certain poor shepherds in fields as they lay, in fields where they lay keeping their sheep on a cold winter's night that was so deep. Noel We hope your holiday season is going well, and we hope to see you in the coming year. Bye.
Once in royal David's city stood a lonely cattle shed, where a mother laid her baby in a manger for his bed. So may we, when life turns hard, find in love our stay and guard. Shepherds came to see this wonder and to kneel in holy awe at that lowly stable manger where the infant lay on straw. So may we this happy morn honor every child that's born. From afar three magi journeyed to that stable rude and bare, to pay homage to the infant, offering gifts both rich and rare. So may we our lives bestow, whether we be high or low. In that happy Christmas spirit, hear the angels from on high, sing their ancient salutations, joys of gift you cannot buy. So may we, with hearts that sings, share the truth this season brings.
Welcome. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Community of the Mountains for this Christmas Eve celebration. For some, this is a holy night. For many, it is one redolent with childhood memories, one stirring up thoughts of parents, grandparents, siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, children. And yet, this year is different, as in most things. Welcome to Christmas Eve 2020, where we are once again together apart, where we connect virtually, but with heart and spirit on this special evening. Merry Christmas, one and all.
We gather together on this Christmas Eve as fellow sojourners looking for light, for hope, for peace, and for love. We gather as a people from many backgrounds, many faiths, many cultures, and many spiritual paths. But as we light this chalice, we gather as one body, looking to the Nativity for its message to all humanity, the message that there is light, there is hope, there is peace, there is love.
May our chalice burn all through the night. May our chalice burn all through the night. May our hearts be open and may our minds be still. May our truth be spoken, and may our lives fulfill this promise of peace, this promise of peace, this promise of peace, this promise of peace.
Those of you who are familiar with UUCM will know that each week here at UUCM, we remind ourselves that we are on Nisenan land, that we have entered a story already in progress. We remind ourselves and acknowledge that this land was never ceded, never given up by the Nisenan people, that the Nisenan people are still here among us today, though nearly invisible. Each Sunday, we remind ourselves that the original tribal families have yet to recover from the near genocide of their people. And we remind ourselves that as residents and visitors in Nisenan land, we can commit to support the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe in their efforts to stabilize their people out of the legacy of our history, as well as their effort to restore federal recognition for the tribe. We keep in front of us a basket of black oak acorns right on our altar, once a key source of sustenance for the Nisenan land, as a tangible symbol of the history of our relationship, of our commitment to attend to the health and wholeness of our wider community. On Christmas Eve, it seems particularly important to honor that truth. And I'm happy to report and celebrate one more step achieved toward federal recognition. The recent passage of support by the Nevada County Board on Christmas, my words are cut out there. Passage of support for that federal recognition by the county. On Christmas Eve, which celebrates the arrival of hope through a family dispossessed and then in danger, I invite once again our willing commitment to learn, to acknowledge, and to invest ourselves in all of the healing efforts available to us. And for our opening words, tonight words from minister, theologian, and civil rights leader Howard Thurman. These are words that we often include at the end of a Christmas Eve service to send us forth, but I thought it might be helpful to hear them at the beginning this year, before we hear the traditional Christian story of Jesus' birth, for example. Thurman often made the distinction between the institutions of Christian religions, the religions about Jesus, and the loving, liberating religion of Jesus, the message Jesus taught. Even so, when he was in India to deliver a lecture, Thurman was asked very directly how he could profess Christianity when black people had been brutalized, lynched, burned, and denied most civil rights by Christians, and when Christianity was unable to have any effect on that terrible plight. Thurman answered by pointing out the extraordinary ability of the black people who were suffering to wrest out of the Christian tradition and story, despite all odds and despite their suffering at its hands, a message of hope in the midst of life's pain. He said, it taught a people how to ride high to life, to look squarely in the face those facts that argue most dramatically against all hope, to use those facts as raw material out of which they fashioned a hope that the environment with all its cruelty could not crush. In the teddy bear pageant earlier this evening, we invited people to hear the Christmas story as a story of hope for all people, a story whose twist, not a powerful ruler coming to the rescue, but a rather helpless baby born in poverty, invites us to see hope and possibility anew. I invite you to hear the story as Gail reads it later, and to hear Howard Thurman's words for our opening in this light, in the light of people who long for freedom of many kinds, perhaps you, of people who suffer, perhaps you. In this time when our nation and its people struggle to come to terms with our competing legacies of both racism and inclusion. Howard Thurman's wisdom and words. Now the work of Christmas begins. When the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flocks, the work of Christmas begins. To find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among the people, to make music in the heart. And so, the work of Christmas begins.
O come, all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant. O come ye to Bethlehem. Come and behold him, born the King of angels. Venite adoremus, venite adoremus, venite adoremus Dominum. Sing choirs of angels, sing in exaltation. Oh, sing, all ye citizens of heaven above. Glory to God, all glory in the highest. Venite adoremus, venite adoremus, venite adoremus Dominum.
And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. And all went to be taxed, each to his own city. And Joseph also went out of Galilee, out of the city of Nazareth, into Judea, to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David, to be taxed with Mary, his espoused wife, being great with child. And so it was that while they were there, the days were accomplished that she should be delivered. And she brought forth her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling clothes, and laid him in the manger, because there was no room for them in the inn. And there were in the same country shepherds abiding in the fields, keeping watch over their flock by night. And lo, the angel of the Lord came upon them, and the glory of the Lord shone round about them, and they were sore afraid. And the angel said unto them, Fear not, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. And this shall be a sign unto you. Ye shall find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes and lying in a manger. And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of heavenly hosts, praising God and saying, Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill to men. And it came to pass, as the angels were gone away from them into heaven, the shepherds said one to another, Let us go now even unto Bethlehem, and see this thing which is come to pass, which the Lord has made known unto us. And they came with haste, and found Mary and Joseph, and the babe lying in the manger. And when they had seen it, they made known abroad the sayings which was told to them concerning the child. And all they that heard it wondered at those things, and which were told to them by the shepherds.
The Shepherd Who Stayed by Theodosia Garrison. There are in paradise souls neither great nor wise, yet souls who wear no less the crown of faithfulness. My master bade me watch the flock by night. My duty was to stay. I did not know what thing my comrades saw in that great light. I did not hear the words that bade them go. I know not were they maddened or afraid. I only know I stayed. The hillside seemed on fire. I felt the sweep of wings above my head. I ran to see if any danger threatened these my sheep. What though my brother wept and plucked my sleeve? They were not mine to leave. Thieves in the wood and wolves upon the hill, my duty was to stay. Strange though it be, I had no thought to hold my mates, no will to bid them wait and keep watch with me. I had not heard the summons they obeyed. I only know I stayed. Perchance they will return upon the dawn with word of Bethlehem and why they went. I only know that watching here alone, I know a strange content. I have not failed, that trust upon me laid. I asked no more, I stayed.
In the bleak midwinter, frosty wind made moan, earth stood hard as iron, water like a stone. Snow had fallen, snow on snow, snow on snow. In the bleak midwinter, long, long ago, Christ a homeless stranger, so the Gospels say, cradled in a manger and a bed of hay. In the bleak midwinter, stable place sufficed, Mary and her baby, Jesus Christ. Once more child and mother weave their magic spell, touching hearts with wonder, words can never tell. In the bleak midwinter, in this world of pain, where our hearts are open, love is born again.
Worthy of Beauty by Reverend Paul S. Sawyer. Some years ago, I worked at an intensive day school for children and youth with emotional and behavioral disabilities. These were tough kids with tough lives, and with some regularity, one or another of the students would lose control and physically lash out. Part of my job was to help kids in such circumstances, to talk with them, and, when needed, to physically restrain them in order to keep them and others safe. The school building was a converted, majestic old Victorian house, and during the holidays, we staff would decorate the grand entryway with lights, garlands, and a well-trimmed artificial tree. Within days of putting up those decorations, one of our students would invariably end up taking their anger out on that holiday scene. The garlands would be torn off the wall, the decorations scattered, and that tree left lying on its side, branches strewn all over. It became part of our staff's afternoon routine after the kids had gone home to put the entryway back in order. We made repairs, returned decorations where they belonged, and set the tree back up in its stand so that the room looked festive again before the students came back. I asked the principal of the school why we didn't just get rid of the decorations. Why spend all this time decorating a space so that the kids could tear it apart? It seemed like we would have an easier time if we just took the decorations away. We could do that, sure, she told me. But do you believe that our kids deserve some beauty in their lives? I said, of course I did. These kids have been told their whole lives in words and actions that they don't deserve beauty or much of anything fun. Most of them believe themselves that they don't deserve to be in a beautiful space. So we'll keep at it. We'll keep putting that room back together. We may have to do it every day. We need to prove to our kids that we're not willing to give up on them. If we're doing our jobs right, they'll probably get it after a while and we won't have to put the whole room back together. And then she said, we just have to be willing to put those decorations back up one more time than they're willing to tear them down. I remain proud that I got to work in a school that chose love and hope every day for kids that, honestly, it would be much easier to give up on. Kids who were used to people giving up on them. It was a small thing, that decorated room, but the kids noticed. I'm sure that those decorations and many other little actions taken there every day made a difference. It certainly made a difference in me and in my sense of the power of true, tenacious love. My principal was right, by the way. By the second week, that room and all the decorations almost always made it through.
I had the privilege of attending the Vatican Museum of Art many years ago. And what I loved about that visit was that the many paintings, sculptures, stained glass windows from across the centuries were all about the same subject, the same cast of characters, the same set of stories. What leapt out to me from that experience was not so much insight into the characters and stories themselves, but insight into the artists and the times and places they inhabited. By seeing how the nativity scene was portrayed, for example, in the 1100s compared to the 1300s, the 15th century rather than the 17th century or the 1980s, I learned more about how people over time and across the earth were seeing the world and understanding life and human nature from their perspective, about what mattered to them, I learned more about that than I did about the actual Christian story of Jesus' birth. The look of the people, skin colors portrayed, the clothing, the body shapes, the characters included or not in the scene, the facial expressions, the backgrounds, the overall mood and message, all different, though rooted in the very same story. Though, of course, it's never the very same story, because each person brings their own life and experience and lenses to the hearing of it. Earlier this month, I invited us to bring a soft gaze to this season, a soft way of looking. Rather than zeroing in on the details and keeping our vision narrowed and focused at a short distance, which is what we do when we feel threatened. Instead, to use a soft gaze, a soft focus, which is what we use when we're feeling more safe and more calm. It's a way of seeing that widens our vision and allows us to take in more of what's around us, and so to sense our place within the wider scene. Christmas sermons often explore the point of view of one of the characters in the Christmas story, imagining seeing life and the world and the story through that person's eyes. It's one of the ways we can bring ourselves into the story and its meaning. This year, I think I'm identifying with the busy, distracted innkeeper, busy with details and activity, and perhaps missing the quiet, unexpected miracle out back in the barn. With whom in the Christmas story would you identify this year when you're not worried about its literal interpretation? Mary, pondering in her heart what in the world's going on? Joseph, overwhelmed, getting much more with Mary and the baby than he expected. The shepherds, hearing news too strange and suspiciously good to be true, but so powerfully and compellingly delivered they check it out anyway. The sheep, the searching magi, the confident proclaiming angels. Who somehow matches you right now? If you bring a soft gaze to the story, rather than zeroing in, you can even start to see and identify with characters who are outside the visible scene and the known story. I love the way Theodosia Garrison, for example, imagines a shepherd who didn't go with everyone else, but who held the role of the person who stayed behind to tend the sheep. Neither great nor wise, but no less important. Feeling responsible for the well-being of those charges. There are ways to locate yourself within almost any story, including this one. And not so much because of the story itself or because the story itself matters, but because the wide sharing of and focus on and repetition of this particular story extends an invitation every single year to reflect on our own lives, our own busyness, our own pondering, our own displacement, our worry, our own following of good news proclaimed by an inspiring angel on a YouTube interview, our own search for someone who will change our personal world for the better or save us, our own quiet, unexpected miracle out back where we're not looking for it. As a busy innkeeper of sorts myself, I'm thoughtful about what I will need to do in order to step out of my busyness and place myself more often where quiet miracles unfold in the dark, in places I don't usually go looking, amid people I don't usually spend time with. The place where hope arises in new and surprising form. Maybe there's a way for you to find out or to wrest meaning out of the Christian Christmas story and traditions, or maybe not. Maybe you're tuned into a different story that has you reflecting on your life, on what matters now, on which road you might take next. Whether your current story is a story of the season, of the rhythm of the earth and sky and solstice, or of a baby born in an animal stable, or loving memories of connection and family traditions, or yours is primarily a story of this pandemic time or this political moment, may tonight invite in you a soft gaze. May it allow you to relax your vision for a moment, long enough to take in the wider scene, and so your place within it. Perhaps this is the first work of Christmas. The stillness, the softness that allows us to find our way to all the rest. May this Christmas and this season bring just the gifts that your heart needs to be most whole and most present to others. May it be a time of love and care and vision and unexpected miracles in unexpected places. May it be a time of a star on the horizon, calling, ready, waiting. So may it be. Our offering on Christmas Eve goes to the minister's discretionary fund. This is a tradition that collects money for the minister to spend to support people in need. So often that's for transportation or rent or gas money, often for food, cards to grocery stores, for example. As always, there are a number of ways to give in this time of pandemic when we're not here to pass the basket directly. I invite you to be generous in the spirit of Christmas and to know that that money will go to good use. Meanwhile, the music of Bach and Gounod, sung once again, for those of you who heard it last Sunday, by Julie Tillinghast. A gift for this evening. I dedicate the offering that comes tonight to the work of Christmas, to finding the lost, to healing the broken, to feeding the hungry, to releasing the prisoner, to rebuilding the nations, to bringing peace among the people, to making music in the heart. I invite you to one more reading, one more call to that reflective part of our hearts.
It's the deepest part of the night right now. Many mothers give birth this night in Mexico, in New York City, in Kuala Lumpur, in Xinjiang, China, in Tallinn, Estonia. Some are poor, some well-to-do. Some call this time Christmas. Some do not. The midnight in Puente Arenas, Chile, is scented with summer roses, and groups of friends in Hobart, Tasmania, gather on the patio to drink mint tea, commenting on the beauty of the Christmas sunset. Over Montevideo, the Southern Cross rises bright among the constellations as midnight yields to ancient Spanish carols. Over Montreal, Orion hovers, his belt comforting each across the icy sky. A new mother sees the stars from her hospital bed and smiles. The world is great. The world is glorious. And this wondrous night tells only a small part of the story. Yet I say, even this part of the story is great, and each word in the story is great. And the breath of silence between each word, and the silence found both at the beginning and the end of the story, is an emblem of greatness and glory yet to be discovered.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright. Round yon virgin mother and child, holy infant so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace. Silent night, holy night, shepherds quake at the sight, glory stream from heaven afar, heavenly hosts sing hallelujah, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace. Silent night, holy night, child of God, love's pure light, radiant beams from thy holy face, with the dawn of redeeming grace, sleep in heavenly peace,
A Christmas Eve benediction in the words of Maureen Killeran. Tonight, in this community, we have shared stories, sung carols, opened our hearts to the beauty of music.
Tonight, we have turned to one another, lighting each other's candles in the dark.
Tonight, we have dared to hear a message of hope spoken once again against the challenge of the world.
It is time now to depart, to go forward to our lives and to the world.
May joy be your companion, whether you are with others or alone.
May love be your strength.
And may the gift of community dwell in your heart.
For here, in this place, you will be welcome always, whenever you choose, whenever you need.
Whenever you choose, whenever you need, once again, I invite you to know yourself connected to one another in the past, right now, and into the future, and to share in this weekly benediction, these set of good words that we offer each other. It's part of our commitment. Let us together carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again. Looking forward to when that's in person. Thank you to Lindsay and Gail for stepping up late in the game to help plan this service and be part of it. Thank you. Thanks to Bob Miller for filling in as chat host this evening, as well as audiovisual host. To Conrad and Jordan for doing editing. To our musicians, Michael there on the trumpet, Kate Cannon on beautiful flute, River Sampson family for the lovely song, Thomas Rose family, Julie Tillinghast for the beauty of the music, and Jordan, of course. Chuck for reading as well, and Shanti for having our setting for all these weeks here in this month of December.